target has been located. Enemy forces have been spotted. Secure area.
Anyone that knows me knows how much I love the Mass Effect series. Mass Effect 2 is one of my top 5 favorite games of all time. And needless to say, I am really looking forward to Mass Effect 3. However, the reason I love the series is because of the characters, the well-realized setting and lore, and the compelling overarching story. The gameplay was decent in the first game and greatly improved in the second, but if good third-person shooter gameplay was all it took to win me over, then it would be Gears of War as one of my all-time favorite series, not Mass Effect. So obviously, I was skeptical about the co-op mode in Mass Effect 3, given that it is basically removing a lot of what I love about the series in favor of just straight-up action. Now, I say I was skeptical about the co-op, but unlike some people, I'm not necessarily opposed to the idea. I've always praised Mass Effect 2 as having combat that is just as good as some of the top third-person shooters. What really sets it apart is the rock-paper-scissors-like mechanic with the various types of powers and defenses. Some powers are only effective against unshielded opponents, while others excel at taking down shields, barriers, and armor. Luckily, this basic mechanic is maintained in Mass Effect 3, and overall, I would have to say I have really enjoyed what I played in the multiplayer so far. The co-op mode in Mass Effect 3 is your basic wave-based survival mode, and a pretty good one. This type of mode has become really popular since Gears of War 2 kicked off the trend in 2008 with Horde mode, and everyone has their favorite. In my opinion, Firefight in Halo Reach and Horde 2.0 in Gears 3 are some of the best examples of this mode, but I have to say I do like Mass Effect's take on this mode. It works just like you'd expect. With each wave, the enemies increase in numbers and difficulty, with the ultimate goal surviving until the end. The one twist is that every few waves, you'll get objectives that your team needs to complete in order to move on. These aren't really that complex, and usually consist of things like holding a specific area, eliminating certain targets, and activating several nodes at various spots on the map. There are 3 difficulty levels, and I have to say, this game does not mess around. To have any chance of completing even the easiest setting, you basically need a full squad of 4, or at least a squad of 3 that are good and communicating with each other. I was able to routinely complete the bronze with a squad of just 3 other random players, but I've yet to get even more than halfway through on silver. I'd imagine you need a group of highly leveled characters all communicating with each other to have any chance of completing the higher difficulties. Which brings us to a feature that really sets this mode apart from other similar modes: character progression and customization. The character leveling you've come to expect from the Mass Effect series is fully present in the multiplayer. All 6 standard Mass Effect classes are present, and they remain mostly unchanged from Mass Effect 2. The Vanguard still has that awesome biotic charge, the Infiltrators can still cloak, and each class plays just like you'd expect them to. As you level up, you gain points to spend to unlock powers, with each character having 2 powers in addition to their specific class power. Obviously, the game has to take place in real time, so you can't pause and bring up the power wheel, which is why you're limited to just 3 powers, mapped buttons used for real time. When you begin, you only have access to human characters, 1 for each class, with the other races being locked from the get-go. To unlock them, you need to earn credits. The way the unlocks work is actually really unique and brings some classic RPG style to the Call of Duty style unlock system. All of your powers and passive health, shield, and damage upgrades are unlocked with the points you get from leveling up, just like you would in the main game. But all the weapons, items, mods, and characters require money to unlock. However, you don't simply buy the items you want. Instead, you buy a box containing 5 items with a random selection. You can choose to spend 5,000 credits for 5 items with a small chance of getting a rare. If you want to save up 20,000 credits, you can buy a box of 5 items with a guarantee of getting at least 1 rare. Rares are basically the things you really want: weapons, characters, and mods. The non-rare items are mostly one-time use items like ammo for your rocket launcher, Metagel, which allows you to revive yourself if you go down as opposed to waiting for a teammate to pick you up, and other similar one-time use items. I think this system is simply awesome. It can certainly get frustrating when you play for hours on end just trying to get a certain item or character, but every time I buy a box, I get those feelings of anticipation, like opening a chest in a classic loot-driven RPG. Maybe this will be the time I get that awesome rare item. As far as the actual gameplay goes, it's not as big of a leap as from Mass Effect 1 to 2, but there are certainly some improvements. The moveset has been expanded in this game, with human characters now being able to roll and slide between cover, bringing the game more in line with what you'd expect from a third-person shooter. The other races handle a bit differently, though I've only unlocked 2 to this point. Turians can't roll or slide between cover, but they do start with more shields than humans. Drell are the other race I've played as, and instead of the basic combat roll, you do cartwheels and backflips.
Identify some key enemy personnel in the area. Locate the targets and terminate.
Contact!
Aside from the movement stuff, the only other major change to the gameplay is the addition of special melee attacks. Each class has their own heavy melee, which does more damage than a regular melee in addition to looking awesome. There are also several new powers spread out across the various classes and races, and they all seem to fit well within the game. Like I said, the rock, paper, scissors style balance has been maintained, though there have been slight changes to the way warp and overload work. Overall, the co-op in Mass Effect 3 seems like a nice feature for those that want it. Many people went nuts when this was announced, claiming the end of Mass Effect and cursing EA for ruining the franchise. I don't think we will ever really know how much input EA actually has in the development of BioWare games, but whether BioWare would have done this on their own or not, I think it's a pretty cool mode. Obviously, the core essence of Mass Effect could never really be maintained in a wave-based survival mode, but with the leveling, the classes, the powers, and the loot, there is enough RPG and enough Mass Effect in this mode to make it a nice diversion. When I finally get my hands on the final game, I will more than likely play through the single player multiple times before I even boot up the co-op, but it's nice to know that it will be waiting there for me once I've played through the story a few times. Oh, and if anyone is wondering what I thought of the single-player portion of the demo, I have no opinion on it because I haven't played it, and have no plans to do so. I want my first playthrough to be pure, and if this demo is anything like the Mass Effect 2 demo, they'll throw in some random mission from the middle of the game, and that's not how I want to experience the game for the first time. For more previews, news, and reviews, head on over to GamingIrresponsibly.com.